You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hey everyone, thanks again for joining us as always. My name is Paul.
My name is Rob. Absolutely, thank you for joining us, for spending a few minutes of your very valuable time with us. We don't take that lightly. We appreciate it very much. We appreciate your comments. We really appreciate your questions because there's a lot of people that have the same question that you do, and you had the whatever it is, cojones or something else, fill in the blank, to ask it. So thank you. And if that's you, ask droneu.com. We want to hear from you.
Definitely, and we also appreciate the opportunity to help you take flight with confidence and get those questions answered. So thank you again for joining us. Today's topic is really the top 5 drone jobs of 2023 and 2024. And I feel like this has become even easier to answer as we have more and more data as far as what's coming down the pike. And that said, it is not real estate videos. It is not social media videos. So a lot of the things that, people want you to know, which are important for you to support yourself in your own business, but they may not be the best scalable jobs. So when we talk about the best jobs here, understand that we're coming at this from a experienced business perspective, meaning that it's a repeatable job that we can do over and over again, that provides a good profit margin, and that has an easy system that we can follow over and over again. Because as we were saying on our last show, if you're a really good pilot and you have attention to detail and you can follow systems, there's no reason that you cannot be successful in this industry. In fact, you can be very successful. So that said, before we get into today's question, we have a couple of trainings coming up in August. We only have 1 or 2 seats left of our mapping class. September, it's the same thing. We've got subject tracking classes in August and September if you want to join us in colorful Colorado. We also have a flight mastery course in New York. So if you want to join us on the East Coast, please do check it out. And in all honesty, we've, a lot of people have been asking, Rob, how come you guys don't travel as much and do more trainings around the country? One, we are absolutely slammed here. People love coming to Colorado. It's a destination, and honestly, it's easier and cheaper for us to serve our constituents here in Colorado than it is to go travel all over the country. And so that means we don't have to raise our prices every year after year. We can keep them pretty much hovering in the same place that they were and still provide you with the greatest amount of value. So we also have been doing a lot of enterprise training.
Well, and that said, we also have some phenomenal Drone U Elite instructors that are around the country that are more than happy to do trainings in person for folks. So
yeah,
got to keep that in mind as well.
I'm really excited for our good friend Izzy.
I am as well.
He's gonna be
Izzy's
doing
a
a
rock
lot.
star,
and we're growing and expanding our network here too in Colorado. So
absolutely.
Anyway, let's get right to that question and check out those trainings, thedroneu.com.
Hi, my name is John from Arizona. My question is, would you list the top 5 drone business fields as far as what you would recommend an aspiring professional to focus on in order to be profitable and successful? If there are 2 or more that would nicely coexist, that would be cool too. I don't want to be a jack of all trades and master of none. Thank you so much. Love the podcast.
John, thank you very much. We love that you love the podcast, and we are very appreciative that you listen and that you asked a question. AskDroneU.com is where John asked a question. So do you feel pretty good about the top 5?
Yeah, no, I really do. And, we listened to this question last week and we've had 2 walks now and we've talked about it. And so I just want to hit one philosophical point on this of the whole jack of all trades and a master of none. So I just want to say 2 things that I think are really important. In the drone industry, to be successful, you have to have 3 things. 1, you fly super smooth, whether it's in close proximity or super high in a super windy condition, that no matter what, you're smooth on the sticks. Whether you have automation or not, you're smooth on the sticks. Number 2 is an extreme attention to detail. You have to be able to remember systems and steps and have methodologies so that no matter what, you always get it done in a formulaic, systematic way, in a complete way, in a follow-through type of manner. Number 3 is you have to be personable, and you have to be willing to build relationships and communicate. So we talked about attention to detail. Number 3 is also really that you follow systems, but I kind of worked that into number 2. And the reason I bring this up is he says, I don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. First and foremost, that quote keeps going. The quote does not end at a master of none, just so you know. But it made me think about my uncle and my dad. My dad had an extreme attention to detail, and he was very, very good at just one thing, which was law. And it was pension and labor law.
But even that, it was a very specific type of law.
Yes. And then I had my uncle Lynn, who sadly just passed away 2 weeks ago. And he's the one who taught me about boating. He's the one who taught me about the tides. He's the one who taught me about the ocean and oceanography. And he taught me so much about life that, my dad would just sit there and say, you got to really listen to Lynn. He's right about this. And he was a jack of all trades. And you know what? I can say confidently, the difference between my dad and Lynn is that my uncle Lynn always had more fun. So being a jack of all trades is not always a bad thing. And you can also be a master of them all if you understand the fundamental systems that empower being good at all those different verticals, which is attention to detail, systems, and honestly, you're a better, smoother pilot than just about anyone else out there. So I will say it might not be 100% correct to say that you need to be a jack of all trades to do these different verticals. Not at all. Even to be a good drone mapper, you have to be good at flying close and low. So it's again the same system. So that said, top five drone jobs right now. Look, we just booked an experience training entirely for what kind of company? Construction company. And that construction company sent people to our experience training this year, and we're doing an entire training for them, no one but them, experience training in the spring. So I would say construction is number 1. We're still seeing a lot of drone service providers. That's where they are really getting a lot of great jobs. And don't fall for the just doing progression photos and orthomosaic map, blah, 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 blah. A lot of these higher end construction companies do a lot of point cloud construction and a lot of 3D modeling to sell and market their ability to do jobs. So understand that it's really important that you need to be able to do complex mapping and modeling to get the good construction clients. And it might be the thing, that kind of carrot waving that you need to do to actually get the client to do the basic stuff as well. You're going to be able to need to know how to do the complex jobs. Number 2, I would say, is utility inspections, specifically power lines. With the development and all the popularity of EV vehicles, of having a lot more electrically powered things like lawnmowers and whatnot. You'll never get me to buy an electric lawnmower. I'm sorry, but
they're expensive.
They are so expensive.
I just want to cut my grass, people.
I was so happy to buy like an old school Craftsman lawnmower for like $400. I was like, and it's self-propelled. I'm like, doesn't get any better than this. And it's one of the first things I did to make money as a kid was mow lawns before I even lived with my dad. So 10 years old, I was mowing lawns for money. And that Craftsman lawnmower always worked. None of the others ever did. So.
Nowadays, Sami's making from one customer $70 a week.
One customer. He just mows one lawn.
Front and back. Yeah. Using his lawnmower. Doesn't even have to use our lawnmower.
Dude, Sami's going to crush it.
Anyways.
Anyway.
Okay. So, yeah, I had to.
He's got to throw the kid in there doing great, which I'm proud of your kid for you. Okay. So, it really is awesome. But number 3, I would say, is cell tower inspections. All 3 of these jobs we have found are repeatable, scalable. Once you get into them, they do pay great buku bucks. Number 4, I would say, is...
Wait, what was 3?
3 was cell tower inspections.
Okay.
That could fall under utilities, but for number 2, I really want to be specific.
No, I think it should be a 3rd, yeah.
Yeah. Number 2, also, the U.S. government just allotted almost trillions of dollars to upgrade the power grid all over the country. And we know for a fact that this is one of the highest paying recurring revenue jobs that you could have as a drone pilot. It does require flying in close proximity to power lines, having upgraded cameras. But as we talked to one specific person who will not be mentioned, and an industry leader as well, says, look, I know what it cost me to get a power pole inspected. One pole, he's like, if I do it with Skydio, it costs me $290 a pole. If I do it with an M30, it costs me $126 to do it with an M30. I can also do it with an old Mavic Enterprise or a Phantom, and that will cost me $90 per pole. He goes, now, all of my guys are employed, so I don't think of labor costs instituted into that calculation. But when you think about it, it also paints a picture in regards of what's going on right now with the DJI export ban that is coming September 1st. And they are banning specifically products that fly over 30 minutes, and they're banning thermal cameras, which are critical to getting these jobs done. So that said, we're going to be doing a deep dive on this. Look for a show upcoming. I've seen a lot of other people do shows on it, and I just want to provide the most organized, comprehensive information out there, because the cost of any thermal drone is going to skyrocket, which we're trying to sell our Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual Advanced. So the value just went up on that thing. So if you have a thermal drone, hold on to it. So Rob, we're not selling the M30T. Sorry. We got to get our T&Ds done first. So.
All right. We're docking Paul's pay.
So that said, number 4, I would say, is solar panels. Again, that's another thermal job that's going to be hit hard by the export ban from DJI. And Skydio drones, they're enterprise drones because they're not making consumer drones anymore. Their enterprise drones really don't have the best thermal cameras as far as what they're offering. They're great solutions for many jobs. Utilities is a good one. Something like solar, we really need to do a deeper dive on the size of the sensor, radiometric, isotherms, etc., to be able to get Raptor Maps reports done. And I don't know if that's possible.
But they're also supposed to be putting out a new camera, right?
Supposedly, we're supposed to see a new drone this fall from them. But again, this export ban is not just drones. It's motors, it's ESCs, it's germanium, it's all sorts of stuff. So how that impacts the domestic market is going to be really fascinating, really fascinating. But then you've got people like Orca who are just becoming a powerhouse of, NDAA approved drones. You got people like, what is it? Vantage Robotics. This is really empowering them. And I honestly, though, while it empowers them, I do think the market as a whole hurts from it. I will put that out there, because when you look at who's behind the politicization of these DJI products, it is American companies. And so we really need a free market capitalism, because that's what's ultimately going to drive the best products. That said, number 5, what do you think number 5 is as far as the best drone jobs out there? Because what I have in my mind might be very different from what you might be thinking. And I love your input, because you see as much data coming across your screens, your station, as I do every day, if not more. So I'm curious what you think.
Man, I don't know. I honestly don't know, because the ones that you've mentioned, those are by far what we're seeing the most of. I think what I would say, based on what I've seen and what I'm hearing, might be a surprise. And I'm thinking more worldwide.
Okay.
But I'm thinking ag.
Okay, so I was going to bring this up on this show, because one of those DSPs, the large-scale DSPs that's hiring a lot of drone pilots right now, they are getting into ag. And the reason why, I don't know, but I have a theory. And I think the theory is that a lot of international importers of our grain, of our rice, of our other products, they are not importing America's ag very much anymore. Do you know why? And this is statistical data that you can see at MIT. Do you know why?
Because of the stuff we put on it?
Glyphosate. That's exactly right. It's literally because of our GMO crops that have all of these chemicals on them that are outlawed in the European Union. I mean, if you go any of you drone pilots out there, male or female, if you have any sort of gluten intolerance, maybe you feel super bloated after eating a certain type of bread, I challenge you to go to Italy or Europe and have that same piece of bread or pasta and tell me if you feel the same. I guarantee you will not feel the same. Okay, they're not.
And by the way, it's not about making your own because the grain is probably coming from essentially the same place, right?
Bingo.
Unless you're getting your grain from overseas, which I still find hard to believe they don't do the same stuff because...
Oh, no. On Amazon, you can now buy the Italian flour, all-purpose flour that it wasn't sprayed with chemicals. I know because I just ordered some this weekend. So, because I want to make my own tortillas, damn it.
Excuse me while I place an order.
Okay, but getting back to the point here, why would that drive drones in American agriculture? And it's because... American ag needs to take on precision ag. Since we can't douse our plants with these chemicals that kill most bugs and whatnot, what we have to do is hyper identify problems and solve them before they become too big that they can't be solved and they, reduce a yield by 5, 10, 20 percentage points. So what does this mean? Precision ag, where we're indexing a particular crop, it's being flown at a regular basis to identify overall health, whether if that's NDVI, whether it's multispectral, whether it's, thermal and trying to identify animals. That's a huge contract that Scott Homer is taking on in Texas, is identifying animals on given properties just for land leases and whatnot. So that said, I was thinking about bringing up ag. There was something else I wanted to bring up, but why would ag become a big thing? It's because a lot of farmers cannot sell their grain, their crops. They cannot be exported anymore to international countries because these countries do not want this chemical-filled product. So that's changing a lot of them to use different seeds and use less chemicals, which means they've got to be more hyper-fixated on having a clean, healthy crop throughout the entire cycle. And so they're a little bit more attentive to detail on their crops. And this is where drones are becoming bigger. We're seeing a lot more. Look at the Wingtra and how many multispectral projects they're doing and what they're doing. So I think ag is becoming a thing. We also know that ag is a very unique vertical of the drone industry because of what's going on with the clear lack of leadership from the FAA right now. Look, everyone is pissed at the FAA. I'm not going to dig in to my heels anymore. I think everyone knows that when you don't have experience in drones and you're trying to regulate them, it becomes impossible to gain credibility or authority. I mean, the FAA literally just put out a video that was out on Twitter. It was 4 days old, and there was talking about building trust with the drone community. And it was 4 days old, and they have like a lot of followers, and it only had 100 views on it. And it was 4 days old. And it's just like, I retweeted it and I was like, FAA, like your messaging, I don't think is having an impact here, guys. And so I bring this up because the FAA has teased out in an NPRM recently that they are going to have 2 new types of Part 107 certification. And it's all going to be about drones between 55 and 200 pounds and 200 and above, or it's 55 and 100 and then above that. And it's all based on spraying. Because right now the FAA, and I think this is a mistake again by the FAA, of saying that we want to regulate drones that are sprayers to be under Part 137. And it's funny because in our video about anti-remote ID, I erroneously quoted Part 91 of the law of saying like you can deviate from any regulation as long as it's in the effort for a safe landing or a safe flight. That is in Part 107 as well. But if you actually go into the FAA's comments on many particular subjects, they'll cite law that they also say in other posts is not applicable to drone pilots. So they go back and forth all the time. And when people got on me for that, I'm like, do you see the forest for the trees here, ladies and gentlemen? Because they do it all the time. And honestly, the law is in Part 107 as well. My point is this, is that if Part 137 is not really applicable and we have, more Part 107 licenses to empower ag spraying, then what I'm hearing is that the market is dictating what's going on. And what I hear is that if farmers are saying, I'm losing money because I can't sell this chemical crap, then I am going to do whatever I can to keep my farm going and growing. And that means if I need to use spraying drones, I'm going to go out and use them because we all know what enforcement looks like from the FAA. And honestly, I'll just say this. I want the FAA to have credibility in this community because I think it's necessary to have a proper structure. But I think it's also clear as glass that they've missed the mark numerous times. And even, newbies are realizing what's going on. And I think things need to change. I think we need good leadership up there. And I look forward to it because, like you said, if we had a bifurcation of state laws, of just every state is different with drone law, it would be a nightmare.
Or even if there was a second federal agency for drones, I'm sure you could make an argument either way, but now you've just got two agencies trying to
and I don't
work
think
together
that
on
helps.
the airspace. And that doesn't give me a lot of confidence. Okay, so ag, for the various reasons that you've already mentioned, you would say that could be like a 5A, 5B. I understand. That's cool. I think you did. So what was the fifth that you were going to come up with?
Cinewhoop tours.
Okay.
All these small businesses are realizing, look, a lot of small businesses, even real estate, they love Matterport, but it's just boring and it's not dynamic. And if you've got an older population, an older audience that may not understand how to interact with Matterport on their phone, you don't get the same traction. Whereas indoor, I love indoor drone tours, by the way. They're on Instagram. I've been following them for years. I love them.
I do too. And I think people do. And I think you're onto something. And so 2 points on that I would add, if I may. One is, it takes more skill to do that.
Which is why it pays more and why it's more profitable.
Exactly. My only thing is, I think all of the Cinewhoop fly-through videos that I see, they're moving too fast.
I could not agree more.
And the person, like basically what you did at the Isotopes, you slowed it down.
You have to.
And that was cool. So if you can be that person, I think, like I saw...
It's a fine line, too, between exciting and boring and being too fast for an older audience or too slow for a younger audience.
And maybe I'm an older audience, but like my brother just sent me on...
But you're the audience that controls the finances.
Hell yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Anyways, my brother sent me a video of a super cool, and you probably have all seen it or something similar, where a guy is flying FPV over a volcano that's erupting, right? And he effectively sacrifices the drone, and it's super cool. But still, like, he's flying so fast, and it's like the FPV and the Cinewhoop guys can't help themselves. They have to do the flips and
No.
I think that turns people off.
I agree.
But for what you're talking about...
But those are rules of cinema, right? It's just like if you shoot an interview and you break the 180 rule, people don't know what's wrong. It just feels wrong and they're not paying attention anymore.
That's happening to me. Like, I'm like, I don't want to watch this anymore. And again, maybe I'm old. I get it. You can yell at me for that, for being a stodgy old guy, whatever. I don't care. I think a lot of people are feeling that way about watching those videos. But if you do Cinewhoop and I'm not saying like slow it down to whatever. I don't know. You still got to keep it interesting and semi-fast.
I think you should show it if you know someone over the age of 50 or 60, and if they feel like they're dizzy watching it or they can't stay attentive to watching it, then it's too fast. And I get it. It's a fine line. I would give the example of Gray Man. If you watch the FPV shots from Gray Man, they are terrible. They're very good flight motions, but you lose track of the subject. It's too far away. You can't see what's going on, and you almost get lost from the scene certain times. That is a good example of what not to do. Yeah. And then you look at like stuff like Johnny FPV stuff, and I don't know if Johnny FPV did Gray Man or not, but either way, the shots they could have been better. That said, you look at Johnny FPV, like what he did for Porsche and whatnot, so close, so tight, super slow-mo, like, and you get a chance to appreciate the motion. You get a chance to appreciate the machinery that's involved, because they're super tight, super fast shots, meaning the drone is moving fast, the car is moving fast.
That's different,
but the overall motion of the subject, i.e. the wheels spinning with the dirt, it's in slow motion. Mm-hmm. You're seeing it for like 5 to 7 seconds where you're watching it and you can actually take it in and understand what's going on in the scene, and you understand how that subject lines up with the next one of the next one that's ultimately telling the story. So I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like this is a lesson I had to learn with real estate back in 2013, 2014, and even wake surfing, is that if you move too fast, it doesn't matter how cool your shot is. No one cares. Okay. And I think wake surfing, right? A lot of people sometimes
the boat's moving 13 miles an hour.
100%. So, Ohana Vienna, they just posted a video. That's my buddy Marcus, who's out of, is it He's out of Europe, out of Austria, and they just had an FPV pilot, and he's doing orbits around the boat.
Oh, no way.
But he's doing orbits around the boat, and you can't see the literal trick that was being done by the writer, and you're kind of like, well, that's a neat gimmick, but you don't.
One thing that we know is happening because we've talked to people from these organizations, but like take the Drone Racing League, DRL, we know that they work to get their pilots paying jobs. Right?
Okay, yeah. Uh-huh.
So think about that. You've got a FPV racer who likes to go fast, who knows fast, and they just convert that into a paying job with a Cinewhoop or an FPV. So they go fast. Mm-hmm. And it's like and by the way, I'm blown away by their capabilities. They're incredible. I'm not taking away from that at all. I just don't think it transfers.
I agree.
Into what could be a phenomenal use for Cinewhoop.
I couldn't agree more. On that note, since our card is running out of space here, we're gonna leave it there. I think those top 5 are very clear. I think you look at the funding sources, it's clear, but you also have to look at like what is a kind of a trending hot usage of drones, and it's indoor drone tours. I couldn't agree more with Rob that those can be done with obstacles, but they got to be slow. You got to allow people an opportunity to see what's in the frame, especially with those wide angle cameras that are super wide. So that said, we appreciate you joining us here. Let us know what you think about these top 5 drone jobs. And if you have a question, ask droneu.com. That's going to do it for us today. My name is Paul.
I'm Rob.
This is Ask Drone U.